Hi everyone, this is Gabby Chung. Welcome to my video and my blog. Today I'm going to show you how I changed the color of this blanket in this newborn image that you see in front of you using Photoshop. So it's a very simple process, but you do have to be precise in where you apply your adjustments. So I'm going to show you step by step what I do, and I'll show you 3 different tools that can achieve a very similar result and when it would be appropriate to use each of those. And also, I'm going to answer the question, which is the original edit? I posted this image in some of our photography groups, and I had a lot of response to this. Many of you were right, and many of you were incorrect. So I enjoyed reading some of your answers and your explanations on why you chose the color that you chose. So some people said that they chose the green one because they can see a green color cast. They chose the blue one because they can see a blue color cast, which is interesting. And there were some other fun reasons, but I think it's interesting that, we can see these things in images, but our clients don't see any of that. So without further ado, to end this debate, the original image was the brown one. So the top right corner is the original edit. It's not the original image because I did edit this, and I am going to show you the original image so that you can see how I changed the blanket color already. But that is really it for that. Let me head over to Photoshop now, and you guys can see. So I have my set of 4 images. I started with the brown one, and from the brown one I changed it to blue. And the reason why, if you know me, if you follow my work, you know that I like neutrals, I like earthy tones. I don't even have a blue blanket or a green blanket in my studio. I have lots of browns and tans and some grays. And so I did have a request for some blue, so I used in another image a blue wrap and a blue bonnet, and the client really loved those. She bought an album, which was really beautiful, and these images were going to go on the same spread, so it didn't really mesh too well. It didn't flow as nicely with a brown image on one page and the other was like a light kind of tan background with the blue wrap and bonnet. So I changed the tone and I made it the exact same blue tone as was in the wrap. And that was such a beautiful spread. It really went well together and it just looked really nice. So that is why I originally changed the blanket. From there, I was toying with it and I took out the color and I made it this kind of charcoal gray, has a little bit of brown in it, maybe a tinge of green, but really a gray color. And then because I needed 4 for my example that I posted, I just made it green. And I actually really love this olive green tone. I will probably buy some olive green colors for my boys because I think this complements the skin so well. But again, this was the original. So you can see it's kind of brown, kind of a green army brown, and I always tone that one to a nice brown. But you can see that was the original and the original edit. So we are going to start from here. My original edit, this is fully retouched, and I'm going to just make those changes to the blanket. So the first thing, the first adjustment layer that I would like you to learn is selective color. Selective color will almost always work, except in this case, but I'll show you how it does work. It'll almost always work really well, really easily, and it targets the color that you choose. So when we look at our image, what do we see? We see brown. Brown, and it's made up of yellows and reds. So those are the adjustments that we're going to make. So if I wanted to go from brown to blue, that is what I initially tried. I tried a selective color with brown to blue, and it didn't work all that well. And let me show you why that doesn't work. So if we do selective color, which is right here, let me bring this properties box over. So there's a lot of yellows. what would we do with that? We would turn up the cyan to try to make those yellows more blue. We would turn down the magenta. It's kind of turning a green color, but you can see how it very easily goes from brown to that olive color, and that's how I did it. The yellows, we want to see if we can bump those, and then let's go to the reds, and maybe we can get it more green. I'm sorry, yeah, the reds, and we're doing cyan. So the magenta, we can definitely make a green. We can adjust the blacks, and you can see how all these little changes will make a different effect. So brown is made up of yellow and red. These are really our only options. The cyans are not going to do anything. This is not going to make any difference, any of these, because there was no cyan in this original image. And so we would have to make another selective color layer, and we would have to make those adjustments over and over again. So this is technique 1. You can see, and we'll come back to this, you can see how you can very easily make a brown blanket green. You can easily make a brown blanket gray. You can even make it purple pretty easily, but this is a boy, so we're not going to make it purple. But to go from brown to blue requires a little more work. So when there is such a big color adjustment, what I do, so I'm going to get rid of this, we'll come back to selective color, but know that generally for minor tweaks that are in that kind of same color family, this works really, really well, but not for this. So instead, I have my original picture. I'm going to do a hue saturation layer, and this will make major adjustments to the color. So for this one, we would do on the master, I always mess with the master first to see what I can really do. And I know the skin is turning a wonky color, so just bear with me. I will show you how to fix all of that. So maybe oops, we're lagging a little tiny bit. Right around there, I know that is a weird, weird color. And then remember our original blanket has yellows and reds, so we're going to target those colors now. So our reds, I want to, let's see, move them around. I want to have that nice navy blue color. So let's keep going with it. You don't want it to be too bright and green. Let's also adjust this. The lightness, you can also mess with this. You see how it tones it down quite a bit. It takes away some of that brightness. So I want to mess with this. I want to lower it a touch, maybe around there. And then I want to go to yellows, because remember it's made up of yellows and reds. And then our yellows, so let's make the color adjustment. We are getting closer to that blue that I like. So this is the blue, we're getting much closer, right? So our yellows, we'll leave it around there. We can always come back and make those adjustments. Lower the saturation, raise it. I think we might raise it maybe just a touch and come back to it if that's something that we need to mess with again. And then, let's see. So this blue, let's check out our original blue. Is not quite that blue, is it? So we need to work on it some more. Again, these cyan adjustments aren't going to do anything because it's looking at our original brown image, which has no cyan. So let me throw that back to 0. Good. And what I'm going to do is make a second hue saturation layer. And right now, I know the skin is, little baby looks like a little alien, but we will fix all that. So another hue saturation layer, and now it is working with the combination that it sees. So it's looking at this blue, tealy colored baby. And so now we can go in and target those cyans. So cyan tones. So we can see now the cyan works. So we can make it a deeper, dustier blue. And probably, I might like it around there. And saturation, we can mess with that just a touch. The lightness, I would take it down because I like more muted tones. This is all preference. But once you start playing with these adjustments and you start to understand what each of them can do for you, then you'll know how to make those adjustments. Okay, so we have this, and baby is a strange color. So now we can go and mess with that. So what I do, you're clicking on the mask, and I will just paint baby away. So you want to make sure that you have reset your colors so that it's black and white, and white and black, and an easy way to reset it is to push D on your keyboard. D as in dog. And then you want to go to your brush tool. So a B on your keyboard does that. And you want to make sure it's a nice soft brush so that you can get all the major parts. So X swaps the black and the white. So we want to paint with black because we're painting on a white mask. So this makes the effect go away. So you can see I just want to get all the big parts first. And my computer is lagging because I'm recording. It takes up a lot of memory when I record, but typically this goes pretty quickly. For now, I am not trying to be precise. I'm trying to get the bulk of it. Ooh, it is lagging. So we are just getting the big parts, and then we'll focus on the details in just a second. So then I want to get in close. I want to make my brush a little bit hard so that the edges are not soft. It is targeting more of what I want. So you can see I can really get in the edges this way. And I can take away that blue effect from all of the skin. So know that if you want to see where you have masked, then you can do, I don't know if this is backspace or forward slash, but I mean backslash or forward slash, but it's the slash that's under the delete key. So you can toggle that on and off to show the red mask, and that will let you see what you have masked away and what is still left. So this becomes very, very helpful when you are masking and when you need to be more precise. So you can see when I go back, I went over just a little bit, so I can correct that. Over here, I went over just a little bit. I went under a little bit, so we want to be really, really precise. And because this is a demonstration, I'm not doing this totally with all the accuracy that I would normally do it, and taking the time that I would normally take, but this is my process so that you know, and you would just be very meticulous when you do yours and very detail oriented, making sure that you're only getting skin, because that is really how you're going to get that perfect image, and no one will be able to tell that you changed the color, and there won't be any funky masking errors if you take the time to be more precise. So I want to be precise because I want you to see how it all works really well. Oops. But of course, this does take time, and no one wants to watch this whole thing. So even get in here. So just making sure that you are deselecting the blanket and selecting just the skin. So now let me go along the leg. You can see, let's take this off. See that little hint of green? We're going to go back to that. Because we did such a big adjustment, this may need some additional tweaking, but I think you get the gist of it. I'm just going to do the rest very roughly for the sake of time. Let me, oh, it's lagging quite a bit. No more teal baby. So when you're more precise, you won't have that glowy green, but we will go back to that once we see what our final image is looking like. Let me just do the head and then we'll move on. Let's do that. Let's take out all the color, extra color. You can see that I went over right there. So that is exactly what we don't want. Oops. Okay, but again, this is not super precise. I just want you to understand what I'm doing and how I do it and how I apply it very precisely. But this isn't completely finished, so bear with me. So we have our baby and we have our mask right there, so you can see where you've applied it. That looked a little bit green and it was bothering me. This does have some edges that we need to go back over and fix, but for the sake of time, we are going to move on. Just know that you should be very precise when you do your images. When you have two layers, so remember we have two layers here, you can combine, so we have a mask on one. You can apply this to this image with this mask by hovering over this top one, pressing Option down, and actually you're hovering over kind of the middle, and you see that arrow with the box, that will combine those. So the effect that you've done here, it'll apply it to this with the layer mask, which is nice. So that's what we're doing. I feel like when I look at this, I'm losing some of that depth that I had in the original image. So the next thing that I would do is do a levels layer. And again, I'm going to combine those. So Option, hover in the middle, and press down. That way it applies it only to my background. Do you see how my baby is not being affected by it? Because it's going off of this mask that we created. That's why you have to be very, very, very precise, because all of these adjustments stacked on top of each other will start to become noticeable if you did that mask, you know, a little bit wonky and you were not as detail oriented. So when I look at this, I want to darken the blue just a little bit, give it a deeper tone. I also, like when I look at it, again, the blue is too blue for my taste. I like more muted colors, so I might even tone this down. This is much more my preference. And let's see how this, no, I liked that shade of blue. So this, I toned it down, so I might put it around there. So you can see without levels, it looks very light, very washed out. With levels, it looks like it looked originally. And that's what I see is a problem in so many of these color changes, is you're not compensating for the effect that the selective color did. It often will take away some of that detail and some of the contrast when you do change the color. So make sure that you go back and you make up for it either by upping the contrast on that blanket or darkening the midtones in levels or in curves, whatever is your preference. So that is pretty much how I would achieve it with the hue saturation layer. Same thing with the selective color. So you saw how I turned it to green and the whole image was a little bit green. You would still mask it off the baby. Now, if you do both of those and you still don't like the effect, it's just a color that you cannot achieve, then I'm going to delete these. Get rid of that. Start again from the original so that we can see it from scratch. I would then, if those two options don't work for you, do a solid color layer. Choose a blue. We can always adjust this blue color later. Let's choose a nice navy blue. And then you're going to do, you can either do a soft light or a color So this is soft light. I don't like it. It looks purple. We can probably find another color that will translate to blue, but for this case, I would like to do color instead. So this is putting the blue color over our image, and it's not blending the blue and the brown blanket, it's just laying it over. So if you did overlay, overlay blends those two colors together. So that is a different effect, but you should play with these because they can be very, very useful. So our color layer, and you can see that it has washed that blanket out quite a bit. So for this one, of course, we would mask baby out, so I'm going to do that really, really roughly. Well, it looks so strange when we mask baby out, like the color looks off. But let's pretend this is done well. I know it's not. But I think you guys can get the idea. And we see that this is not the tone I want, not at all. So we can go back into here, darken it, see how that is affecting our image. Maybe, not that, maybe around there. I like that. And then do a levels adjustment, darken those midtones, possibly even the blacks over here if we really washed out the color. Darken those, oops, not that dark. Darken that until we like it. For this one, you can't combine those like I said before, so it just doesn't work. So for this one, you would have to do another mask, and again, you would have to be very precise. So taking that mid-tone darkening effect off of your baby. Now, this is very poorly done, keep that in mind, but I think you get the idea. This can be a very a good effective way, but again, you have to, if you washed out your colors, you have to bring back that contrast. You have to make it all match up really nicely. Now, if you shot on a pink blanket and you are turning it to something else, or a red blanket, or something with a very strong color cast, you have to pay attention to that. So this would be the third technique. So the first one was selective color, second one hue saturation layer, the last one a solid color layer. And if let me make this go away now. Let's say this image, this blanket was pink, this is a girl, and we have some strong color casts that are pink, and we turned it to blue or purple or whatever other color. We turned it brown, for example, or you know what? We turned it green, and baby has lots and lots of pink. Make sure you go into that and you mask away the pink. So you can either do selective color, same thing, mess with your magentas, or you can do hue saturation and mess with that. You just want to make sure that after you make these major adjustments, you take a look at your image as a whole and make sure that it's matching up, that it still looks good. Sometimes I'll find when I change a color of a blanket, sometimes baby looks just way too warm. It went well with the original blanket color, but with this new blanket color, it is just too warm. For example, like this blue one, if baby was just slightly warmer, it wouldn't look right because this is very cool. So we want to make sure that we make all of those adjustments, and that is how we are going to get the best end result. Let's see, what else do I have to share with you? I think that's it. Those are the 3 techniques that I use. Again, selective color first, because that's the easiest to work with, I think. If that doesn't work, if it's too extreme of a change, do a hue saturation layer. And if that doesn't work, which it should almost always work, do a color change, a solid color, and put this layer style on color. So that is it. I hope that this was helpful to many of you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment box below. If you have made your own color change to your blankets, I would love to see them. Post them below. And what else? Let's see, if you're watching this somewhere else besides the website. This is the website, so we are going to have many more posts just like this one related to editing and to business and to in-person sales. And if you have not yet joined the Art and Business Education for Photographers group, this is the address. It's facebook.com/groups/artandbusinessedu. And I encourage you to join. If you are a photographer, you are welcome to request to join. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.